50 years. How does it feel that a half a century later, we got a whole new generation that's learning about the American Basketball Association and the impact that you guys had on the sport of basketball?
It was special because we play a major role in where the NBA is today. Nothing against the NBA. It ain't the basketball that I play. People don't do research, Rick. I mean, if we don't have people like yourself that go out and tell the history and tell the truth, it'll never be told.
My guest today is a true basketball legend. He was one of the core superstars who led the American Basketball Association to prominence in the 1970s before going on to become a four-time NBA scoring champion. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome to the program the Iceman, George Gervin. Ice, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Rick, man. Good to see you, man. What, you been grow your hair, huh?
I'll tell you, COVID happened. I grew it out, and I decided it was covering up. I figure the way I look, the more I can cover up, the better I am anyway, probably. So, and I got to tell you, when we talked on the phone for a few minutes last week when we were setting this up, and I was telling you that growing up in Kentucky in the late 70s, you were my favorite player. And so I want you to know that I'm not kidding. If you look over my shoulder there, you can see yourself on the wall of honor up here behind me. Can we get a full screen of me? You can't see me the way that we are. There we go. There you are. You're next to Earl Campbell. You're between Earl Campbell. Yeah.
I see
and Larry Bird. So there you are. Yeah. So I wasn't just flattering you. I've been in your corner for close to 50 years, Ice. So I want to start with you talking about Soul Power, the new documentary series that's on Prime. The reviews are great. People are responding to it. I know that it's doing very, very well. How does it feel? 50 years, almost. We're right on the 50-year anniversary of the merger this year. How does it feel that a half a century later, we got a whole new generation that's learning about the American Basketball Association and the impact that you guys had on the sport of basketball?
Well, Ricky, you think about it, a lot of people don't do research. So, a lot of things that happened in the past never go noticed. So to have an opportunity to be a part of, Soul Power, it was special because we play a major role in where the NBA is today. And with this docuseries coming out like it is, it will really help expose, us to a younger generation that knows nothing about us. We really are a big part of the foundation of what the NBA is today.
So many of the things that the young generation would take for granted as being a part of things. The slam dunk contest goes back again to 1976 in Denver. You were one of the participants in the very first slam dunk contest. The three-point shot obviously predated, it was over 10 years ahead of the NBA adopting the three-point shot. And these are things now they're just seen as it's just a part of basketball, but that goes back to you guys. Did you realize or have an inkling at all at the time as a young guy in your 20s playing in the league that you guys were doing something that was special and that might have this kind of lasting impact?
Well, I think we were too young to have that kind of vision. I think what it was, we just loved to have an opportunity to be a professional basketball player, and the ABA was another professional basketball league. So just to be a pro and have an opportunity to compete on a professional level, I think that's what we were mostly thinking about. Never really thought about a year, 2 years, or 10 years ahead. But now that we are there, man, we was in a special place. I mean, we were really in a special place. And again, it's something that these guys should get credit for. I mean, because of how the game have blown up. The game, is global. I mean, that's like starting a business and you start at mom and pop and you grow nationally and then you become international. You have to be thankful, to the beginning. And we are, a part of that beginning of that growth.
Well, let's go back to your beginning in the pro game because I think it underscores the point that you were just making. Before we knew George the Iceman Gervin, the scoring machine, 4-time scoring champion, before we really knew Dr. J. Julius Erving, who obviously became a global superstar and to this day is considered one of the icons of basketball, you guys were teammates in your early 20s in, of all places, Virginia, a pair of Virginia Squires back in 1973 when you broke in and played your first professional game in the ABA. What are your recollections of those days of you and Doc as teammates, just kids out of college, getting your feet wet in pro ball?
What you think about it, Ricky? I think about when you talk about that, I think about me getting there. How I got there. I got there because I left school early and then I started playing semi-pro basketball. And Johnny Red Curse saw me playing and he called Earl Foreman, who was the owner of the Virginia Squires at the time, and told Earl he needed to bring me in and take a look at me. Earl brought me in, told me to shoot around, and he signed me on the spot. So I became a teammate of Dr. J. For me to be around Doc, as a young man, it was probably the best thing for me. He was such a great guy. I mean, he was a competitor and, so I remember we practiced all the time and then, Doc used to call me out. After practice, Doc used to say, like, hey, rookie, where you going? Hey, Rook, where you going? I said, man, I'm going to shower, man, get on out of here. He said, oh, no, I ain't done with you yet. And me and him used to play one-on-one after practice all the time. How exciting that was for me, people always ask, who won? He won, for a while. And then I had my turn. But what Doc did for me is he built up my self-esteem, he built up my confidence, and he made me feel that I belong. And I'm still so thankful to him today for taking that time with me.
Well, as so much of the story of the ABA goes, financial considerations were always looming during the course of the history of the league. And the Virginia Squires were financially struggling and sold you not long thereafter, traded you for money, which I think is a sale, to the San Antonio Spurs. And obviously it is in San Antonio where you became a superstar in your own right. And, people started to realize exactly what you could do. What did that move to San Antonio do for you in terms of advancing your career and your development?
It changed it changed my game, because, Doc left before me, the Squires, and went to the Nets. And then I was there and I kind of took the lead after he lost. And then, like you said, the Squires were struggling financially. I mean, I never missed a check. So, it wasn't that bad while I was there. And they end up, selling my contract to San Antonio. So, me being a Spur, it was a culture shock for me, to come down here to the Southwest and never really understand where I was. I mean, the only thing I knew about was the Alamo, then that's from history, so I'm going to a place that, that, Virginia, I was around all black folks pretty much. And then I come to San Antonio, I'm around Hispanic. So it changed my culture, just how I lived. The music I listened to, I would listen, I would listen to Marvin Gaye and the Temptations. And then when I went down to San Antonio, I was in the country and Western. So, that was a culture change for me. But Ricky, man, it was the greatest move, man, I could have ever made in my life. It was the beginning of something again that I couldn't see 50 years later. I'm still here in San Antonio. So I'm married here in San Antonio. I raised my children here in San Antonio. So, I've been with the franchise now about 50 years. So it was the best move for me. And playing here and then playing under Tom Lasocki first, and then after Tom left, I played for Bob Bass, and Bob Bass took me from forward and put me at guard. Changed my career. I went from them guys 240, 250 pushing me around to the 6'2", 6'1" guys. I thought I was in heaven.
Well, George, there's a good argument probably to be made that the San Antonio Spurs don't exist today without you. Because you guys were one of the 4 teams that made it in the merger. And I'm sure George Gervin and James Silas and those great teams that you had were a big part of that. In fact, my Kentucky Colonels, what happened was so dirty. What happened to the Colonels?
Oh.
It hurt. Now, I told you I was born in 71, so I don't remember. It's right before my sports memories kick in, like around 78, but I've read so much about it. And that 75 Kentucky team, now I want your opinion on this. At the time of the merger, George, how good were the leagues relative to one another? Because I've talked to Artis Gilmore about this, your old teammate. I've talked to Hubie Brown about this. I've talked to Dan Issel about this. And I believe that the Kentucky Colonels would have handled the Golden State Warriors no problem if there had been a 7-game series that year. I will go to my grave believing that to be true. How good was the ABA at the end when the merger happened? Because you guys went into the NBA and immediately started having success, which leads me to believe that the talent in the ABA was very, very, very high at that time.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe how Kentucky didn't be a part of the merger, as dominant franchise as they were. And again, the world ain't fair. We know that. And they got caught up in that aspect of it not being fair, because we changed the outlook of what the NBA looked like. Because if you look at, and I say it all the time, if you look at the next year's All-Star team, we got to have 7, 8 ABA guys in the All-Star game. So, but we all know we were talented. We all knew, and they knew we could play. It's like anything else, man. And I kind of felt sorry for Kentucky at that aspect, because as I learned, Mrs. Brown was in control of the franchise at the time. I could be wrong. But what I saw on the documentary, that created a situation I call for the old establishment. They didn't want to change, man. They just didn't want to change, man. Because Artis and them was. Artis and them probably was the best team in the league. In 73, 74, 75. Indiana was good. But, them the 2 dominant teams. So for Kentucky not to go. You know, I mean, it had to be something else. You know, I mean, it really
Yeah.
did, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be something else. I mean, and that part I don't know.
Yeah. It still stings. My
Yeah,
poor
I
state
can
of Kentucky.
imagine.
You know, we don't have a big league team in any of the major sports in Kentucky, which is, part of the reason that you were my favorite player. I didn't have a local
Yeah,
team. I
yeah,
was looking
yeah,
out at the entire league. So George, immediately, obviously, you had great success in the NBA, scoring champion in 78, 79, 80, 82. I mean, back in those days, I remember first box score I'd go to when we would get the Louisville Courier Journal, San Antonio Spurs. Okay, Ice had 38. All right, and then we'll go through all the rest of the box scores. After that, the game that you played. When you look at the league today, you're talking about the difference that it made for you at the guard position. You shot over 50% as a guard for your career, which is the game. It's just not the game anymore. You rarely took three-pointers. You have one
yeah.
season where you took over 100, and I think you took 102 that year, and that was by far the most attempts. I think that was the first year that it came into the league. You lit up the scoreboard every night, and you did it inside the three-point line. When you look at the game today and you see how much it's changed from your era, what do you think of the modern game of NBA basketball?
Well, I think it's a similar aspect of the ABA. I mean, because they really utilize the 3-point line. I mean, it took the NBA a while to bring it in. But again, I keep using the word the old establishment. They just didn't want to give the credit that it deserved. It changed the game. Now you think about it. When Golden State won it their first year, they won it from the 3-point line. We saw the evolution of the game change from Artis Gilmore, Bob Lanier inside, Kareem inside, to outside, Steph Curry, and these guys shooting the 3-point line. So the game evolved and it went from outside to inside. I mean, now it went from outside to inside again. So it changed. I mean, that's what we did. We scored a lot of points in ABA. We might average 112, 115. I mean, we were entertaining. We was entertainers. That's what they're trying to sell now. They're trying to sell entertainment. It ain't nothing against the NBA. It ain't the basketball that I played. And I ain't mad because it's their turn. I mean, they play however they want. I played it like it was played back when I played. I mean, so I'm not, I don't get caught up in it. That's how they play now. They give them an extra step, and well, maybe extra 2 steps. I mean,
Yeah.
they monitor it different. You can't get rough. I mean, they get rough, but they couldn't get rough like us, like Wooden the Ladner down there in Kentucky. Wooden will knock you out and then look at you and say, "Don't say nothing." And you don't. So it changed. But again, it's they selling entertainment. Like you say, I shot 50% career. I got 26,595 points. So what they sell today is a guy that, average what I average, but he's shooting 30 times to average it. So it ain't the same as I did it. Again, I don't care. I mean, what I did, I done. His history is wrote down. I mean, if you do research, you'll say, man, they can score like Gervin. I mean, when you put us next to each other, but people don't do research, Rick. I mean, if we don't have people like
Yeah.
yourself that go out and tell the history and tell the truth, it'll never be told. I understand that, so it don't bother me as an individual. Now, what it do bother me is that guys that didn't get the highlights that I did are not getting the respect that they deserve. That's why I like documentaries like Soul Power, so it can tell the history of what happened to be able to understand where you are today. It's an education,
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of
absolutely.
it for me.
And entertaining education. It's not like sitting through some boring lecture. I mean, I would encourage anybody, if you don't know the story of the ABA, there are few stories in the history of sports that are just more interesting and entertaining. I remember what really lit me up was when I was a teenager, I read a book called Loose Balls by Terry Pluto. And I mean, I read that thing, George. I don't know how many times I read it. I know I've read it at least 10 times through the years. I'd get done with it and then I would read it again. Warren Jabali and like all John Brisker
That's right,
and Fly
John
Williams
Williams.
and
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, I talked
all of
about
these
playing with
guys.
Kentucky, and he was a bear, Will Ladner. Played with Kentucky. Big
Yeah,
old strong. Cause you remember when the water jugs that they have now, they made them out of plastic. It was glass back then. I saw him run into it and bust it and slide all in it and just get cut up. Back then in them
yeah. For
days.
people that don't know, he was like a Rodman type, right? I mean,
Oh
his
man,
motor was
he
like his motor was
100%.
always on high gear. Yeah,
And
people
people
don't.
don't even know who he is. I
Yeah,
hate that. I
that.
hate that.
Yeah,
And stuff. So for me again, I ain't worried about me. It's the other guys that deserve some recognition, man. Get them guys some recognition, man. They are part of what you see today, man. Don't don't disclude them guys, man. I mean, that that ain't being human. I mean, that's how can you do that, and stuff, to somebody that helped build something for you, and you won't give them the recognition. Again, that's why I do and say what I say. I'm humbled by the opportunities that I got and, the things that I accomplished. I couldn't have done it without how the game is designed, and that's to play as a team. I mean, so for me, is if you're gonna win it, because only one team can win it a year, you got to play as a team. I mean, and if you don't play as a team, you ain't gonna win it. So it's same concept with building something. If you ain't gonna structure something to have a system, it ain't gonna work. We're a part of that system. The ABA is a part of that system to make this thing grow like it has grown over all these years, man. Now we worldwide, man. Give these young men some love, man, and some respect and some recognition, man. That make up. The reason why I say it, Ricky, is because they got children, they got grandchildren. Man, can you imagine, man, a grandchild or a great grandchild saying, man, my dad, or my granddad, was a part of this. That's a motivation, man, that can keep that kid on the right track. That see he is a part of something. So that's kind of how I look at it, man. Just
no,
as
it's very well said.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, very well said. Because you're right. It's not just. It's one thing to celebrate Dr. J and celebrate the Iceman and celebrate your Issels and Spencer Haywoods and Rick Barrys and those guys. But you're
yeah,
right. That league was built by every guy who put on an ABA uniform and went out there and was a part of this legacy. And George, I got to ask you about acting here in a second, because I'm old enough. I know you. I know the finger roll, and I know the 30 a night. But the young generation, they see you as an actor. But I got to get one more basketball question in here. Last day of the 78 season, you and David Thompson are dueling. I believe this was your first scoring title. You and David Thompson are dueling. Now, I remember on the back of his basketball card that year, they had on the top set that year, everybody's high scoring game. And so I'm in second grade. You know, I'm 7 years old. And that David Thompson card, I turn it around. It says David's high scoring game, 73. And I thought he was this David Thompson must be a superhero, because who scores 73? Now, I didn't know at the time why he scored 73. I didn't know the circumstances. That was the last game of the season. And he's trying to steal that scoring title out of the Iceman's pocket here. Puts up 73. Now, you obviously took notice of that, because you went out, you needed 58 for the scoring title, put up 33 in the second quarter that night, which was a pretty good signal that Gervin wanted the scoring title that year. You had 63 that night, and David Thompson's efforts didn't work out. Take me back to that. What was your reaction when you saw that Thompson had 73? And tell me about that night when you went out and put up 33 in the second quarter. Ridiculous.
Well, you think about it, Rick. It's really kind of funny too, see, because the media called me, because I led the league in scoring all the way to that game. And I was some percentage points over David. So by David scoring 73, he took the lead by some percentage points. Okay, so the media called me, George, because I'm in New Orleans. David and them played in the afternoon, and I played that evening. So the media called me, George, David scored 73. He leading the league in scoring. You need 59. You need 59 in order to get it back. I say, okay. This is where I'm more thankful to how the game is played than ever before. Because Doug Moe was my coach, because Doug and Larry was close, So, Larry was coaching David and Doug coaching me. So we're in New Orleans at the Superdome. So when we got into the locker room, Doug he told him story just like you just did. Man, David Thompson, man, Larry, man, he let David go off and stuff and tried to steal the scoring chance from George, from Ice. Hey, guys, let's help Ice get the scoring title back. It was his words. Unfortunately, we lost Doug just a couple of days ago. But he was one of my favorite coaches. And so all my guys said, okay. We talking about 11 guys, Rick. And I mean, so that means, what means most to me is a relationship. Because I was getting all the pub and all that, back then, but I never forgot them guys. I always say I couldn't do what I did without them. And I sure couldn't have got the scoring championship without them. So, okay, so we go in, all right. So everybody said, all right, come on, Ice, let's go. So we went out in the first quarter, Rick. I need 59. So I go out, man, first quarter, y'all. I missed my first 6 shots and say, time out, man, forget it, guys. And all my guys say, no, come on, man, come on. They were edging me on. So we went back out. I got a little warm, and I got 20,
Just a little.
So I already told them what I got in second quarter. So I needed 59. I had 53 at half. So I ended up getting 63, got my first scoring title in 33 minutes, Rick. I got
You could have gone after Wilt. Did it ever cross your mind to go after, forget David Thompson, go after Wilt?
Point. Now, this is how I thought, because I was there. I was there for a purpose. My purpose wasn't to get as many as I can get. My purpose was to get 59. And then when I got 59, the trainer said, all right, Ice, you got 59. I said, wait a minute. let me get a few more points just in case they miscalculated. That's how I got 63.
Smart.
So now
Yeah.
hindsight, which, I ain't a big man on hindsight. I could have got 80, 90, because I only paid 33 minutes to get 63. But see, that wasn't the point. So when you look at yourself, you think, man, you could have kept going. Wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to get my first scoring title. And I got that with what I got. Now I could have got 80. But hey,
I know
I didn't
you
need
could have.
80.
I know
didn't
that.
need 80.
Yeah. Now, all right, Ice. So we've established that this man was a pretty decent basketball player. I'd say a pretty fair basketball player. We've covered that pretty nicely. Now I got to talk about the thespian Iceman George Gervin, the actor now, because I was going to ask you, so this is a two-part question here. We'll wrap up with this. The first thing I was going to ask you is I was going to ask you about your pilot back in the day, because a lot of people don't know this. Yeah. You had a sitcom pilot. I've seen it. I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but I stumbled on it one night. I didn't know about it. And this comes on, and I'm like, how have I lived this long without knowing that George Gervin had a sitcom pilot?
Southern Fried Ice.
Now, George, what? Southern Fried Ice. Okay. Yeah. Now, and I'm going to tell you, I give you like the best compliment I can give you. Now, of course, I'm biased because I knew who you were, but I think if I didn't know who you were, I would have just thought that guy's a good actor. Now, the conversation that we had last week, you told me a story. You just so happen to be right now in Marty Supreme with Timothée Chalamet. All right? So Timothée Chalamet co-star. Let's add that to the resume. Now, tell me about how that came to be. And now apparently we've got kids. We got a generation, Gen Z, these teenagers. They're going around now and they just know you as the actor guy. How does that feel at this point?
Now, I'll tell you, Ricky, I'm tell you how funny it is. Now, I knew Josh. I met Josh in New York 3-4 years ago. I was at a card show, and I met Josh. Me and Josh sat down and talked and stuff. And, now I didn't really know he was a director or anything, but he was a nice man and stuff. And we had a conversation. And then he called me not last year, year before. He called me and said, Ice, I want you to be Lawrence in a movie I'm getting ready to do called Marty Supreme. I say, Josh, what are you talking about, man? I ain't no actor. He said, Ice, you could play that role. So I said, send me the script. So he sent me the script, so I did research. So I found out who Lawrence was, and Lawrence was, I'm a ping pong guy myself. I love to play ping pong. I got ping pong table upstairs. And so I said, oh, he owned a ping pong parlor. And, he's a black dude, in the 50s. So I got a little interested. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And flew up there and played the role. Now, it only took me a day. I went on set at 3 in the afternoon and stayed till 4 in the morning. I ain't gonna do that no more. That was a long day. Hey, Ricky, that was a long day. But I got a chance to meet Timothée. What a hard-working little young man. He's in love with what he does. So I got a chance to, sit around with him and just, take notice of him. He's gonna be a superstar, because he just got it. You could tell he got it, and stuff. So, I got a chance to spend a little time with him and stuff, man. But like you said, man, it was a friend of mine in the store the other day and stuff, me and him, and he heard the guys talking. He said, hey, that's that actor over there, man, in Marty Supreme. Come on now. I ain't no actor, man. I'm a former basketball player. But you're 100% right. It opened the door to another aspect of my life why people saying, he an actor. And I ain't no actor, y'all, but I act in that, and it's
Yeah.
it really people really went out to see that movie on Christmas. I get calls from around the country and people saying, I ain't know you was an actor. So, for me, I'll just add it to my resume.
Would you do more if somebody
No,
calls
well,
you and
I ain't
says,
gonna
"Hey,
say
George,"
no. I
you
ain't
know?
gonna say no. I wouldn't just do anything. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how the world is. I'm an educator. And if you do something and it got something to do with some kids, educating some kids, or something to where it's helping somebody, I'd love to do something like that. But I wouldn't go out there and do no shoot ups or no, a horror movie. I didn't want to be in the Predator or nothing. So, but I don't look forward to it. Rick, I'm in a good place in my life right now. I'll be 74 next month. I live on 30 acres out here in Texas. You know, um, I, I'm going on my 50th anniversary of marriage. I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and I have 7 grandchildren. It ain't too much more I want in this world, to get spiritually strong and be a good husband, father, and granddad. That's enough for me. Rick, I had my turn. I'm in a good place, man. That kind of jumped on me, that role there, but I'm not looking to do anything else. Education again. If it's something like uh, soul power and we can help somebody, I wouldn't mind doing that. But man, I had my turn.
Well, Ice, I got to tell you, it has been not just a pleasure for me to be able to speak with you today, but it's truly an honor. I've been blessed to interview some of the biggest names in sports, but I'm telling you, I tell my friends, the people that were a big deal to you when you were 8, 9, 10 years old, they hit different, and so to have you on today, that's a bucket list interview for me today. Appreciate you. Wish you continued success in all things in your life, and just thank you so much for coming on.
Hey man, I appreciate you, man. I really do, man. I appreciate the support, man. I appreciate the appreciation, man, and much love to you.
And now let me bring into the show now, of course, the international streaming star who joins me as always from Nashville, Tennessee, is Ronnie T-Shirts. Ronnie, look, great conversation with George Gervin. This really is one that I'm going to put on the highlight reel, not only of this show, but probably my whole life, Ron.
Let's go into a time machine and pretend that I have a chance to talk to 10-year-old Ricky Cobb. And I'm going to say, hey, man, what if I told you 44 years from now, who your favorite basketball player is? The Iceman? You're going to interview him. He's going to refer to you over and over again as Rick, not Ricky, but Rick. And you're going to realize, along with everybody else, that you'll never be as cool as that man, because that's the coolest dude I've ever seen. So 10-year-old Ricky response to, hey, you're going to get to talk to him one day is?
My little Pete Rose haircut head would have exploded and brain matter would have gone everywhere. My nervous system would not have been able to handle any suggestion that any of this was going to occur. Look, I'll just tell you, some days are better than others. And, you know, it's not often that you get to sit down and talk to somebody that really was one of your childhood heroes. They say don't meet your heroes, but I would say this is the counterpoint to that, because George Gervin, everything that you thought that he would be and even better than that. What a hell of a guy is my reaction, Ron. Just a good guy, not just cool, but a good man. And, you know, pinch me, bro, because this is one of those that I'll look back on 5, 10, 20 years from now and just remember, you know, I got to shoot the shit with George Gervin, man. I got to shoot the shit with the Iceman.
Listen, I didn't even get to talk to him, but the fact that I actually took a picture of my computer screen and I sent it to my friends. I'm like I'm on the same, like, that's me, and then that's George Gervin right there. It's like, this is one of, I mean, for me, basketball players at that time frame, it was, you mentioned him, it was funny. David Thompson, George Gervin,
yep,
Julius Erving. There, here's your top three. And the fact that, like, I got to sit here and watch you talk to him for 40 minutes. I mean, wow. Like, and just, he's so cool, Ricky. How can somebody just be so
He's
cool?
The Iceman.
I know.
I
but
mean, he really is the Iceman on and off the court. He's just naturally cool. You know, it's like people try to be cool.
Yep.
And people pretend to be cool. There's none of that. There's none of that with George. George just wakes up in the morning and God says every day, you, sir, are cool. And then he just goes out and lives his life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no.
Anyway, big thanks.
That was amazing,
big
man.
Thanks
that was
to George
amazing.
Gervin.
Yeah.
For joining us today. Yeah, one of my favorite interviews in the history of the show, for sure. But we've still got a little bit of show left, Ron, and we'll begin the next segment when I lean back and with great pride inform not only America but the entire world that it's time for America's Poll of the Day. And let's go to it now at Super 70 Sports on X, where the Eagle flies high, almost as high as George Gervin's scoring average when I was a kid, but not even the Eagle of Freedom flies that high. Here's what I've got for you today, Ron. We'll begin with Pepe Le Pew, the Looney Tunes character. He was an amorous skunk, Ron, as I'm sure you recall. Next, we have Hungry Man TV dinners, a staple of divorced men everywhere for many years in this country. Third, we've got Casey and the Sunshine Band. That's the way, I like it. Do a little dance. Make a Little Love, Get Down Tonight, some of those songs. Casey and the Sunshine Band. And then lastly, we've got the Bash Brothers A's. So that is the Oakland Athletics of the late 80s, early 90s. The Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, Dave Stewart, Tony La Russa, A's dynasty. Break it down for me, Ronnie, as only you can.
It's always interesting to look back on things as an adult that you consumed as a kid, and you realize, oh, okay, I didn't. Pepe Le Pew. I didn't realize what Pepe Le Pew was, what his motivations were when I was a kid. Just thought he was I don't even know what I thought. But then as you got older, you're like, might be crossing a line there, dude. Don't know. Might be.
I have been told by reliable sources that today's poll replies are full of a lot of the sorts of comments that we may not want to lean into on the show. Ron, Jared informing me that
it's like
there
songs,
are some,
right?
but we have some. He does have some, so we will have some today. But we're picking and choosing carefully.
Lori always talks about how she remembers being in the car with her mom and just singing Afternoon Delight like it was the greatest song ever. And then she got to be an adult and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I was singing that in front of my mom.
Skyrockets in flight. Where are mom and dad? Why's the bedroom door locked? Okay.
What is it about TV dinners that felt so incredibly like special? Like if I got a TV dinner when I was a kid, it was better than going to the greatest, fanciest restaurant imaginable. Like it was so like to get to actually eat that thing on the TV tray in front of the TV as God intended. It was one of the highlights of my youth. Am I wrong?
That's living. That's living. No, it's just living, Ron, is what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Um,
And man, some rough meals too, let's be honest.
oh, dude,
You know?
tell me you wouldn't kill some Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes and peas right now?
I'm going to take a hard pass on that, Ron. In fact, but
Casey
the
and the
memories
Sunshine Band
will live on.
Casey and the Sunshine Band actually had a lot of hits. Like they're not just I mean they had a lot of hits.
They did.
Yeah.
Right? What else am I forgetting? I mean, you know, that's the way I
pulled
like it. Do a little dance, make a little
Boogie Shoes.
love. Boogie Shoes.
Please don't go Boogie Shoes. Get down tonight. I'm your boogie man. Shake, shake, shake your booty.
I'm your boogie man.
That's the way I like it.
Shake your booty.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like
a lot of boogieing and booties.
They
their
definitely
songs,
like to boogie.
you know?
They definitely like to boogie.
Yeah. And they want you to get your booty moving as well when you do it.
Bash Brothers, A's. I mean, I'm just gonna say how awesome they are for Ryan because that's who Ryan liked growing up was the Oakland A's. So I'm gonna go out and give a shout out to that being a
Jack
good one.
to the gills on steroids.
Yep.
Just cranking homers everywhere. It was glorious.
I'm going Hungry Man TV dinners, Ricky.
Man, the memories of the Hungry Man too powerful to resist today for Ronnie T-shirts. All right, look, Pepe Le Pew. I mean, I'm generally against cancel culture. I'm just saying that, like, maybe they wouldn't have, if you were creating Looney Tunes characters tomorrow, you might leave him off.
Or tone him
is
down.
all that I'm saying. Or tone him down just a little bit. Like maybe just be like, hey, does he really need to be trying to rape somebody in every cartoon? Is that just like a bit, does he need to try to do that everyone? Can we make it at least just like once every 3?
Some of my favorite tweets that you do are when you pretend that you're kind of writing the minutes in the boardroom or in the brainstorming session. And I'm just imagining that brainstorming session right now. They're like, hear me out. We're going to have a horny skunk. Tell me more.
He is going to touch people whether they like it or not. He's real big on that. He's going to have his skunk hands all over everybody. Is what's going to happen.
Let's go with.
He'll be kissing them.
Let's do it. Green lighted.
Non-consensually.
Go. Green lighted.
All right. I'm going to vote for. I got to vote for the Bash Brothers. That is the late years of my high school, late years of baseball being just kind of magical because you're young. So I'm going to have to go for the Bash Brothers. Lock it in and let's light that candle and see what the public has to say here. I'm one to see how Pepe Le Pew does. People are going to criticize him, but in a silent ballot where nobody knows who you voted for.
Anonymous, yeah. Oh, gosh.
He's still right in the mix when you don't have to publicly attach yourself to him. Yeah, surprisingly close one here today.
Yeah.
Hungry Man TV dinners in the lead. Bash Brothers second. Pepe Le Pew and his attorney are in third place today. And Casey and the Sunshine Band bringing up the
look
rear.
Look at that. There it is.
Look at that.
Look at that.
That's that looks like a modern version of it.
Yeah. Still
Still out there, keeping it real for lonely men whose lives are in shambles everywhere. Is that Swanson that made the Hungry Man's, Ron? I think that was a Swanson product.
I think
be,
so. I'm fairly certain.
Mistaken.
I'm fairly certain that we didn't have Swanson brand TV dinners. I'm sure we had the whatever the cheap version was. That's the one we got with the gosh, what was it? The little cherries Jubilee that got so piping hot it was like a McDonald's cherry pie. Just burn your mouth. It got so hot.
Just ripping your mouth skin.
Yep.
You're digesting your own mouth skin later that evening.
Yep.
Okay, Ron. Well, okay, here we are. We've had such good mojo happening today. You know how I said the other day that when we get to this segment, sometimes I feel like a starting pitcher that's just given 8 really strong innings, and then Ronnie's waiting in the bullpen, and I don't know whether he's going to mow everybody down or whether it's going to be gasoline being poured on a fire. I would like to say this has been a really good show for the record. This has been good work today. George Gervin, outstanding interview, dream guest. We just had fun talking about the poll of the day, but now we're going to find out what really happens, because coming in now to land this plane, warming up in the bullpen, your favorite and mine, and for us to get him in the ball game, all I have to do is tilt my head slightly, look into the camera quizzically, and ask simply, what the fuck, Ron?
Well, Ricky, we're going to get a little bit of both today. So how I make my determination on what stories, I guess, I want to do, they have to meet basically one of 2 criteria. One is it going to be something that resonates with Ricky, that kind of makes him happy, makes him think about his childhood? It's something similar, it has similar interest to him that you're actually going to like. And then I also look for things that will just shock and horrify you. I've got both today. So we're going to start off with the positive one. I ran across an Instagram yesterday. It was about McGriff, about Fred McGriff. And I know you like Fred McGriff. You tweet about him all the time. Like, I went back in and I think
I do like Fred McGriff. 4
or 5, maybe more tweets that you do about Fred McGriff.
Occasionally through the years, yes.
So there's a guy, he only has 488 followers. Hopefully it's rising. This guy, McGriff Collector on Instagram. Are you ready for this, Ricky? He has 4,500 unique items, everything from baseball cards to program covers to figurines, bobbleheads, and a total of 53,000. So 4,500 unique, 53,000 total. And he even puts on his Instagram that please DM him if you've got anything you want to sell to him. That's Fred McGriff.
Okay. First of all, does Fred McGriff have a restraining order on this guy? Because I feel like he shouldn't be allowed within 1,000 feet of Fred McGriff's house. Are you honored if you're Fred McGriff and you hear this? Or are you a little creeped out? Remember when we had the video of Kelsey Plum and the guy was waiting for her out in front of the team hotel? Yes. And she said that I'm so turned off right now by this guy who had multiple cards that he had out in front of her asking her to sign. Like, look, I like to collect things too. And I just geeked out over having the Iceman on the program. But 53,000 baseball cards of the same guy? I don't know. Like, how do you feel about it? Like, where does it swing for you on the continuum between that's really fucking cool and maybe you should go out and I touch grass once in a while.
I understand that side, but then there's the other side of it where like maybe you've got a bit of an obsessive personality, and it's just kind of like one thing leads to another, and then you look down one day and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a Fred McGriff collector, right? And you're like,
Super
you know what?
collector.
You just take your chips, you push them all in, and you're like, this is what I do now, Fred McGriff, and that's what I do.
This is who I am.
Who I am.
One day, that guy just looked at himself in the mirror while he was brushing his teeth, and he just realized, this is who I am now.
Well,
he crossed.
Listen,
he crossed, a bridge from which there's no going back.
This is your call.
That's your identity now.
This is your call. I will follow him on Instagram and I will DM him. If you want to get him on the show, I can ask him. We can get the Fred McGriff collector on the show.
I don't know. I will point out that he appeared, like myself, to be a figurine guy, Ron.
Exactly.
As we looked in his closet earlier.
You knew I saw that. You knew I saw that when I made my final decision on whether or not to include it or not. So, I mean, that's what you guys could bond over.
All right. So that was the nice story. And this is where things typically take a turn for the worse, Ron. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this, but proceed with the second WTF.
All right. So I came across this story. It immediately made me think of one of my favorite Family Guy episodes. It was called Vestigial Peter. And in this episode, we have, I think we have a couple stills. We have a before and after. So you see, he's got a lump up there on his neck. And then he goes to the doctor and they lance it and out pops his little twin. Okay. So this is the story.
Oh, what could this be? What could this be? I'm really concerned now.
So a guy passed away in England, and they were doing an autopsy on him, and they discovered that he had not one, not two, but he had 3 penises or peni. 2 of them were inside of his scrotal sac. And they believe he had no idea that he ever had it. There's been only 2 recorded cases of 3 penises, and it's called triphalia.
This
3
is
penises.
Only the second case ever documented? Is that what you're saying?
This has been documented, right? There's been two is more common, and they have done that. But yeah, 3 penises. We haven't done a lot of penis content in the last week or so.
So he had a Joe Flacco dangling, and he had a Shadur Sanders and a Dylan Gabriel in his scrot.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me, holding clipboards.
Yes.
Now, see, here's the thing. What good is it to have a second string and a third string penis if you don't know that you have them so that you can call on them if you're not happy with the starter? You know what I mean? Like,
true.
what if you've got 2 in your scrot and like they're not micros? And then one day they do an autopsy on you and they're like, this guy had 2 regular dicks in his ball sack. Didn't even know it.
I don't know.
And you're just starting Nathan Peterman for your whole life. You know what I mean?
I do. But sometimes I see these headlines and
That's
it's just
a tragedy.
Like, I don't know, these headlines, they speak to me.
At what point are we going to stop pretending that this isn't just a penis segment? At some point, we're just going to have to, rather than question marks, it should at least be like question marks and dongs as we cut to this every day.
The best part about this, Ricky, and again, there it is, my book. Still,
there it is,
still
available
at
fine
the New York Times
bookstores,
bestseller. Yep,
as well as sleazy ones everywhere.
But
184th consecutive week in the New York Times
this
bestseller.
August, just so everybody's aware, this August I'm going to be 60 and you're going to be 55, and we still act like we're 12 when it comes to this penis content. Like it's never going to end, is it? This
if you enjoy acting like you're 12 when people talk about penises, why don't you consider subscribing to the Ricky Cobb Show? It's as simple as just heading over to YouTube and clicking subscribe on the Ricky Cobb Show channel. We've got other things as well, but boy, do we have a lot of penile content. And if you're into that like we are, If you want to laugh like you're a cognitively challenged sixth grader as well, well, are we your guys? Come on over and join us on the Ricky Cobb Show. Like everything when you get in there, by the way. Just start liking stuff. Like it all. Leave comments. We do feature them on the program. And in order to prove that I'm not kidding, we'll go to some comments that we're featuring right now from Super 70 sports fans and very possibly viewers of this program as well. Let's see what folks are saying about the surprisingly competitive America's Poll of the Day that we have going. Hungry Man TV Dinners just slightly in the lead in this one today. Natalie Dawn saying the best thing about Hungry Man was my dad saying it's really not a lot of food every time he had one. Natalie's dad was not happy with the portions, is what I'm gathering. That's why you got to fire up two. You just got to have another one ready and go back for extras. Landon Nolan says, let's bash, baby. Canseco and McGuire just sticking each other in the ass with syringes and launching 500-foot bombs, and it was, in fact, glorious. And the Moops says, you know what? I'm voting for the skunk. There he is. Pepe Le Pew, one of the most amorous creatures that God has ever put on the planet. He frequently mistook cats with paint on their backs for skunks, Ron. He had a little trouble differentiating his species from others, but to his credit, he would get with any species. He did not discriminate. There was absolutely no discrimination in that man's body, but it coursed with desire for female companionship. And with that being said, we come to the end of this program. My thanks, first and foremost, to the legendary Iceman, George Gervin, for being on the program today. It was truly an honor to speak with him. My thanks, as always, of course, to Ronnie T-Shirts. My thanks as well to P.A. Jarrett for an outstanding job producing today's program. And, of course, everyone in Nashville, from Brooke to Molly to Adam to Colin to Tyler, Chuck, Justine, on down the list. Everyone so outstanding. And most of all, however, I thank you, you sweet bastards, because you're the reason that we do this. And I trust that you will be ready to go on this little joyride with me again the next time that we tee it high and let it fly with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.
The biggest night in college hoops
is coming back to Indianapolis.
One lucky fan and a guest straight into the building.
Flight covered.
Hotel
covered. Your 2 championship tickets
Covered. Go to Outkick.com/sweepstakes.
Get in on all the action.